100 families in partnership with you all. It's going to go a long, long, long way. The Love Until Foundation, as an NGO in this area, has a kindergarten school. We do food distribution, and we have a school-based program where we do life skills and many other things in the East Port of Spain area. We also have a health component, and Love Until Foundation last year was 15 years in existence. And our emphasis during the COVID period has been distribution of food. Simon Jones, who's the general manager in charge of support services, was locking up a day. And they had given out hampers, and they reached out to this lady from Chubacak, and she indicated that she wasn't answering her phone. But she had indicated previously she had so many children and nothing in the house. I think it was 8 children. And as they were leaving locked up, it bothered them. And they called back the lady and got on to the lady. And the lady was able to hustle down. That lady said, there was nothing. And there is no more humiliating thing than to see 8 children watching you with you having nothing to give them to eat. That stood out to me because I grew up very poor and hungry. And so I have a passion for people when I know that they need a food because of my own experience. This is a major initiative that Digicel Foundation has set up. This will go a long, long way in meeting the needs of so many families that are in need of food and food supplies because the breadwinners are no longer working. For us to be able to get 100, to choose 100 families in partnership with you all, to give out $500 voucher per person, it's going to do a long, long, long way to relieve people and their suffering now. And we deal a lot with single parent mothers. So this is absolutely amazing what the Digicel Foundation is doing. Thank you very much.
All right, well, as you just saw there, that was Mr. Brian Jones, who is the Managing Director of Love Until Foundation. And I also want to say good morning to Brian, as well as to Cindy Currency, who is the Operations Manager at Digicel Foundation. They're joining us this morning to talk about Stand Together. Well, I don't know if it's pronounced hashtag Stand Together or just Stand Together.
Standing together, actually.
Standing together.
Yes.
Right, so we're standing together. And I know that the Digicel Foundation has partnered with 10 NGOs. We're talking about people like Is There Not a Cause, Living Water Community, Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society, One Seed for Change, Care Helpers Organization of Trinidad and Tobago, Hopeful Handbags Charity of Trinidad and Tobago, Rayudan Dojo, Women of Substance and Tobago Youth Council, as well as the Love Until Foundation. And we heard a bit of the testimony just now. But Brian, can you tell me firstly a little bit more about Love Until Foundation in terms of what you guys do on a regular basis?
Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks for having us. Love Until Foundation core is really education for young people through our Republic Bank sponsored Power to Make a Difference, where we reach out to about 6 schools in the East Port of Spain area. We have a kindergarten school. We also have a health component, and we give out food. Our food distribution is a very important component in what we do. And during the pandemic, although we have online services still going on with work with the schools and so on, our physical interaction through our soup kitchen distribution and our hampers distribution is the core in which people see us. Our building is open really during this pandemic lockdown for food distribution and the soup kitchen.
All right. And Cindy, you guys have decided to help out these 10 NGO partners feeding over 1,000 families. What drove Digicel Foundation to this decision?
Hi, Ruckus. So I have to tell you that our financial year actually begins in April. So it means that our team, we started planning what this year would look like. What are some of the initiatives we would probably support, and taking into consideration that we had to kind of push things and pivot last year. And then, of course, you know, COVID, more restrictions, state of emergency, and we started as a team looking at what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago. We were getting lots of requests from organizations asking us about food hampers and people who are in need. We started paying more attention to the media. I mean, we always do, but now you're seeing more information coming out, how many people have lost jobs and these kind of things. And we sat as a team together and decided, is this something that we should do? So we started to consult our stakeholders to find out what was happening on the ground, who was giving out food hampers. And through the support from our board of directors and our global chair, we got the green light to go ahead and see how we can do this. And I mean, we came up with the name Standing Together because that's what it felt like. It felt like it's not so much about Digicel Foundation going out on the floor and giving out food hampers, because that's not what we do, right? But it is about us standing together with Trinidad and Tobago, with families who are in dire need at the moment. Some families are just finding themselves in a tough spot. You know, they're not the usual people who've always been, you know, disadvantaged or vulnerable, etc. But everybody right now is vulnerable with the current pandemic and the state of restrictions that we're in. And so we reached out to a group of NGOs. We reached out to them to recommend other NGOs. We reached out to the UN for them to recommend some NGOs that we can work with. And then we found this core 10, and you've listed them all. Thank you so much for doing that. This core 10 NGOs that are doing work in their field, that have been doing work in the past year, in spite of the restrictions, in spite of the gloom and doom that exists. And there's so many powerful stories coming out of them. And so we were moved to see what we can do based on our strategic objectives, based on the funding that we have available to support them. And we're able to, I mean, it seems like a drop in the bucket, but 1,000 families, I mean, it's still quite a lot. It's 100 families per NGO. So we're really happy to be able to partner with them to accomplish this.
Fantastic. Now, Mr. Jones, the
Yes, sir.
100 families, right? Approximately on a regular basis, how many families do you guys service at the soup kitchen and the food that you distribute normally?
We normally give out every week 250 meals.
Okay.
But we, thanks to a new sponsor, we will be going to 400 meals a week. And in terms of hampers, right now we are giving out in excess of 100 hampers per week.
Per week.
But I would just want to say something quickly. Cindy Ann made an error. She said it's a drop in a bucket. This drop is a big drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
You know that Digicel is doing. It is a huge thing, because 1,000 families at an average of 6 for us. People normally won't do it, but as they got the codes, as the system works, people are calling us, thanking us. So Digicel has to be thanked. This is a new thing where people calling you back to thank you as they got it.
Well,
so there's an excitement about it.
Yeah, people are surely grateful. I'm certain of it, because, you know, we're not in an easy time, and I'm sure every little bit helps. So with regards to, so this is approximately how much food, or how long is the food expected to last per family for the 100 families? Is it enough groceries that should last them a month? It should last them a week? What's the goal here?
It should last them a minimum of 2 weeks, according to how they purchase. It should last them a minimum of 2 weeks.
So it's a voucher that people will be getting, ideally, right?
It's a code they get to their phone, and they take to the prescribed supermarkets as listed by Cindy and Digicel. And they are able to retrieve the groceries, $500 worth, no change, no alcohol, no cigarettes. From the
so they have restrictions on what you could buy with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, most hamper distributions, no alcohol, no cigarettes, but it's a $500 voucher. Lots of vouchers that we're seeing, and we did our research in terms of, we realized that some groups are doing vouchers that worth at $150, $350. So we decided to go with 500 in case we had some larger families. And we partnered with about 9 supermarkets through the Supermarkets Association. So you get a text to your phone. Once you contact one of the NGOs to be a part of it, they go through their verification process, and you take that code, that voucher, that digital voucher, to one of these groceries, and they validate it, and you're allowed to pick up $500 worth in your groceries.
Brian, tell me, you're going to be treating with this like, you know, you have regular people who you know are in need, and you're going to give them first preference. So what is the criteria to be able to access?
As Cindy was saying, we are looking at larger families, right? Not like a 1-person or 2-person family, 3-person. We're looking more 5 or above.
Right.
And for those people who are calling in whom we do not know, we're going through a verification process, like ID card, where you live, calling them back, some double checks.
Right.
Because we do not want, there are people who may be more enthusiastic than they should to retrieve the vouchers. So
Yes.
vetting is very important to us.
Yes, because you also don't want people taking advantage of the situation
Exactly.
as well.
Yes.
This is fantastic, guys. I know it's a start, and I think that it definitely, the people who would be benefiting from it will definitely they will be grateful for starters, and it says a lot about Digicel Foundation, because you guys have been one of the people that continue to earn during this pandemic, because everybody still have to use their phone and the internet, etc., etc. So it's always great that you guys are willing to give back to the people, to the general public, to your customers, and all of that good stuff. Tell me what's next for the foundation, Cindy Ann?
Well, right now we're working with our partners, as I said, through our Standing Together initiative. We will have every 3 days or so we evaluate how things are going, because again, it's an ongoing process. It's people continuously calling, people retrieving, working with the supermarket owners and managers to make sure that it's going smoothly. And then in the midst of that as well, we're preparing for our Girls Power Tech initiative, which is meant to inspire young women between the ages of 13 to 18 years old for them to consider or pursue careers in ICT. So that's for July at the end of when school closes, but we still have a lot of groundwork happening at the moment. So our team is quite busy, doing things like that. We're also, of course, staying in touch with the other core work that we do. As I said, our financial year just started, and we have partners who've had their projects on hold for the past, 2 years, almost 2 years now. So we're still in touch with them, supporting our community, persons with disabilities, finding ways on how we can support them at this time as well. Looking at some of the programs, etc., that they are involved in, to see how we can just keep the hope alive and to motivate persons. So it's really, we're all doing our part, and I think that's what I like most about the words standing together. I think at this time it's so crucial for us. And you mentioned Digicel being an income generator at this time, and even in the midst of that, as a staff member last year, I did an 11-month salary cut. We have had our own challenges internally that the company has been shouldering, and it's just to support one another going through. And in spite of all of that, Digicel, through our customers, of course, we have to be thankful for them. They were able to give us our funding so that we can now reach out to the community and continue supporting them in ways that Digicel, the company, can't.
Right.
So it is us really standing
together, because we better together. And I want to thank you both for joining us this morning inside the Now Morning Show. Mr. Brian Jones, of course, the Managing Director of Love Until Foundation, and Cindy Ann Currency, the Operations Manager at Digicel Foundation. Standing together, guys. Thank you so much for the great work that you continue to do. Keep it up. We'll take a quick break and come back with more on the Now Morning Show. Stay tuned.